So yesterday I turned up at Madeline Black's house here in Glasgow, hammered on the door. She had to let me in. What could she do? Because I just turned up. And she actually let me stay.
She's such a joker. I knew she was coming. Don't believe a word of it.
And so I slept in her beautiful ensuite upstairs. I feel so relaxed today. And I thought, while I'm here and while I have her, I'm going to ask her about writing memoirs.
And why are you going to ask me about writing a memoir, Miss Beech?
Well, I might well have started one.
Yes.
So I'm really curious about the process of writing something like that, which is obviously completely different to fiction.
Well, it's the only thing I've ever written. I've never written any fiction. I don't understand how people do fiction. But for me, once I made that decision, it was as if the time was right because all the words just came to me. I would have trouble sleeping at night and I would see them all flying around in my head. And then the next morning I'd sit down at my Mac and I'd just pull these words out of the sky and they just literally came out my fingertips.
You are a poet, Madeline. She says she's not a writer, she's a complete writer and a poet. And
so I was very lucky and it really took me from start to finish about 8 weeks. The words just flowed out of my fingertips. It was fast, but it was like danced fast. It was like the little red shoes, you know, she can't stop dancing. My fingers just could not stop going.
Madeline Black, the poet.
Yeah.
No, we were talking upstairs earlier. She was getting changed in the room. I kept going past trying to catch her naked. I never did. And you said you had to write in complete silence and without anyone in the house.
Yeah. Then I just felt really awkward. Even if anybody was standing over me, I just felt embarrassed. But there was a lot of shame involved for me in the writing and it brought up a lot of stuff. But to me, it was almost like my final piece of the jigsaw in my therapy. Putting it all down there was just like, that's all out of my system now.
That is so interesting that it was the final piece of your therapy because I suppose, is it for me the first piece of the therapy?
Well, for me now that it's nearly 3 years since I was published, April's 3 years, and now it's gone out there and it's in hopefully beyond other countries and translated or whatever, an audio book soon. It feels like it doesn't belong to me anymore. But my story, paradoxically, is the story of many. So it's my story and it's other people's story.
But that set you on your true destiny, which you know I've always said from the moment I met Madeline. I think that your true destiny to change the world, improve the world, is to speak.
Yeah.
You know, verbally speak.
Yeah.
You began obviously speaking through the words and the book, but I've always felt that you're supposed to go out and speak, which you now do.
That's what I'm doing. I've stopped working about a year ago as a psychotherapist and I focus on speaking.
Those poor people who've lost you as a psychotherapist.
I know, I miss them as well, but hey.
I wish you could have been mine, but obviously you can't do it when you know someone, can you?
No.
If I'd have walked into a room, see, I've never had counselling, I've never had any form of therapy, but if I went in a room and it was you, I think I'd probably never want to leave that room again. I'd just sit and talk.
I'd paid her well. So
I want another tenner.
How is your memoir writing going?
Sadly, I didn't get time at Christmas because I worked non-stop. I really missed it.
Okay.
I really missed it. It's very emotional. It's very hard. Emotional in a good and a bad way. Emotional, it's draining, but emotional because it's a release. Oh my God, I do some crying when I'm sitting writing.
And your process must be very different to mine because my journey has always been about getting back into my body because I left the night that I was raped and getting my memories back. So I chose to write my book once I had all my memories returned. But you're really uncovering the mystery of the memories and unlocking certain boxes.
I am, because it occurred to me that someone asked my process of writing, how do I do it? And I've always said, I write the story fiction. I actually find the story by writing it. And I thought, what if I put that to my story, as in I find my story by physically writing it.
That's what's happening really, isn't it?
Well, it is, because as I write, certain things, like if you say you throw a stone into water and you get the ripples, one little memory will come to me and that'll trigger some other memories that I'll think, oh, I haven't thought about that since it happened, I haven't thought about that. But I haven't kind of got to the darkest parts of the book yet. So I'm a bit...
Are you worried about getting to the darker parts?
Yes, of course I am.
Yeah.
I'm scared. I may need a month off and then, I don't know how... I'll find out when I get there how I'll do that.
So I guess it's good for you just to go take it as it comes. Just take each chapter, each page. Yeah. Don't put any pressure on yourself to must finish it by this time or must have so many words.
Exactly. I don't have a deadline because luckily I've written book 7 already, so I feel like...
Which I've read.
Oh yeah, you have.
Oh, it's fabulous.
So,
I can't wait for that one. Yeah.
So I'm ahead of myself. But I don't know if you found this with yours. It's some chapters surprised me by how emotional they were, where I didn't think they would be, like the one I sent you recently, where I wrote about how I went away to that award ceremony when I was emotional because it was 4 days after my mum had attempted suicide. And when I wrote that, I realised I haven't processed that. I haven't looked at that since. It was emotional.
It was emotional for me too, but I think you were on autopilot.
I was.
I've got to get to these awards, I've got to get a dress on, I've got to get there, I've got to do this. And afterwards it's like, oh.
Poor me. I did. Yes. I looked at that.
You had to hold it together.
I looked at that girl last year as if another person and thought, that poor girl doing that. And then you think, oh, that's me. Yeah. So I've got to start feeling that now. Because I definitely haven't felt it all.
But you're still working your stuff with your mum. Her recovery is still ongoing.
Yes, but she's not recovered,
so,
exactly.
You know, it's a different kind of... It's difficult.
It is. And in that regard, fiction is a lot easier.
But fiction, I think, has always been your escapism, as well as your fabulous talent. It's been your therapy and your escapism.
Yeah. That's maybe why I haven't had therapy, because it does occur to me that to get to 49 and to have never had therapy and have had a pretty traumatic childhood is quite something. But you're absolutely right. It's because of the writing.
Yeah, and it doesn't. You don't actually, as a therapist, have to go to therapy. Find something that helps. Could be walking your dog. Could be cooking. Could be being in nature, swimming outside. Whatever. Just find something. Writing. Find something that helps, and that's your release.
It is. And so this is what's interesting about how will the memoir affect me, because I'm not escaping and doing fiction this time. I'm going the opposite way. I'm not writing out. I'm going in.
And also with your fiction, it's not just fiction. You touch on some pretty serious life situations.
Yeah,
there's abuse, there's care, there's the care system. There's lots of stuff that's challenging for people to read, readers to read as well.
I know, and there's
Alfie's just appearing on our video as we speak. I don't think he's so barking in the background.
He's so lovely. He's a dog, isn't he, that doesn't particularly like men but doesn't mind women. Is quite quiet, but he sat on me last night, didn't he?
He did, yes.
He was lovely.
He's been accepted into the fold
of Alfie.
Yes.
So
you do touch on some pretty challenging issues. You don't shy away from difficult stuff.
No, that's one thing I'm not going to do.
So it's not just fiction, like it's a nice, story. You do write about stuff that affects people.
Hopefully, and then the key is when I finish, will I submit it? That's the next part, you see.
And why wouldn't you submit it? What do you think is holding you back from the fear of putting your memoir out there? Because
when people review my books now, they're not reviewing me, obviously they're reviewing my fiction.
It's a very different thing,
personal.
Putting yourself out there. And
how am I going to feel if somebody's really critical when it's actually my real story?
And you will get that.
I know.
I've had one, which is funny how you remember the bad ones, isn't it? I've got tons of really good ones, but the bad one said, I don't believe it, it sounds like a load of lies. How did her parents not notice, blah, blah, blah. But what is beautiful is that then all my supporters, my army of light, whatever you want to call
them.
The mad army. The mad army, I like that. They then jump in to defend me and say, how can you say that? You clearly have no understanding. But maybe it's good she has no understanding. Maybe she's never been through anything traumatic.
She needs to learn, maybe.
But yeah, we do, or I can only speak for me, I do tend to focus in on the negative ones. If I have a 1-star or 2-star,
don't we all? Got
really boring, she tried so many therapies. Well, I had to do what I had to do. The 5 stars are brilliant, but it's the negative ones, especially if it's a memoir, because it's your life. Yeah, it's not a story. It's not made up. It's true.
And I did say to you a few years ago, didn't I, that I would wait till my mum had possibly died before I'd do this.
Definitely said
and then
that.
I've begun.
And do you think this is because of what she did?
Maybe, because it's a heck of a start for a book.
It's a fantastic start.
Sadly, it is, isn't it? It's a heck of a start.
Thank her for that.
Yeah, cheers, Mother, for prancing off up to the... Yeah, anyway. Yes. She didn't wash the pots, that morning. Sorry, that's a funny part. There are funny elements in the memoir, aren't there? There's my usual comedy in there.
And from our brothers and sisters.
Oh, we're a funny bunch. I mean, that's another way that we've coped over the years, is humour. Yeah. I can laugh about anything. People sometimes are shocked by my humour, that I would joke about something like that, but...
And what's beautiful with Lou's book is that it's peppered with snippets from her brother and her sisters and an uncle, and they give their perception, they give their opinions throughout the book as well. So it's like you get everybody, and because we only see things through our own eyes anyway.
You know why, don't you? Because it's about voice, isn't it? It's like my uncle said, are you going to ask your mum and dad for some of their memories, and I'm like, no, this is not about them. My whole life's been about them. This is my voice, my story, not the story that they created for me, because in a way I was a character in their story, the fiction that they made and painted of my childhood. So I'm like, no, it's my story, my sisters and brothers, my uncle, and I'm not asking for their parts
And memories are a difficult thing, aren't they? Because I get lots of people that contact me because I could only write once I got all my memories returned. I know something's happened to me, but I can't access them yet. How do I get my memories? And I just say, wait, they will come. They will reveal themselves in time. Never go chasing them. But you're kind of hoping this is going to unlock something.
I am, aren't I? I am and I aren't. Maybe it won't. I do have a friend who had a traumatic abuse experience when she was 13, funnily enough. And it was a stepdad. And she remembers going into this room and coming out, but no matter what she does, she never has remembered what happened, but she knows something did. And it's a funny one, isn't it? Because people will say, how can you know something happened when you don't remember it? But you just know.
Your body remembers.
That's what I've always said. The body knows what happened, even if the mind doesn't know.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was 13 when I was gang raped. Most people know that. I couldn't drive past the block of flats where it happened, and I didn't know why. And I would be sick. I couldn't even look if I was in the car. Not when I was driving. I was a passenger. I had to turn away. If I thought I saw people that looked like these two young men, I would turn the other way. You know, imagine seeing them everywhere. The smell of them, I could remember the smell, the greasy hair, and the cigarettes, and the alcohol on their breath. All of these things would trigger my body into remembering. So that's not from my mind. That's in there. That's your cells remembering. It's caught inside. So
I have triggers that I don't know what they're from as clearly as say you do. Like if I'm in bed at night, I hate it if there's noise downstairs. It makes me so anxious because I'm like, who's down there? I can't stand it if someone comes into the bedroom when I'm asleep. Yeah. Who's going to come in the bedroom when I'm asleep? Don't like the door.
So I wonder if this is now the therapist. Now I'm doing therapy on the sofa. Is that related to when you were younger and your mum had different partners in? You weren't sure who was in, who you could trust, and
you
who
never
you
knew
couldn't.
who.
So if it was safe or not, because you
Exactly.
call this house safe.
She might have as well have just had a turnstile on the door. Seriously, see, there's my comedy coming into it, but it's true. It's true. Now look, we're gonna go out now, aren't we?
We are.
She's gonna show me
just like that. 12 minutes. Gosh.
Oh gosh, is that how long we just?
Yeah, yakking away.
So where are you gonna take me?
We're just going to go off into Glasgow. We'll go to the West
so
End.
exciting.
We'll go to the
West
Botanical
End of
Gardens. We'll go to see a movie in the afternoon. Yeah.
Lovely. Well, thank you for being so frank with me, and I hope other people might learn a little bit more about you, and will they now anticipate this memoir from me, which won't be next year if it happens, because I've written another book. It could be the year after, maybe.
The readers and the following that you have already, they will love it, and I think it will touch other people's lives that maybe don't know the magic of Louise Beech yet.
I'll give her another tenner afterwards.
See you all later. Bye.